Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. And I do believe that Manchester United are in crisis. It has been revealed that if Manchester United do fail to beat Norwich at the end of the month, that should be enough to end Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure at Manchester United, unless we do get hammered by Liverpool. It also has been revealed that the club will have to pay around £7 million in compensation to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, obviously, this is actually less than half than what we paid to sack Jose Mourinho, and I think we paid around, was it £21 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho. But like I did say, due to our inconsistency, I don't think all the blame stems from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously he doesn't understand any intuition about being a manager, because he hasn't really got that managerial experience. You can also say that Manchester United should have never give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job, and yeah, he has to take responsibility. Does Solskjaer? I think also a lot of the players are to blame, because obviously they've been underperforming this season. Obviously they haven't performed to the standards as we all expected. I think also the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, and recently Gary Neville criticised the board, but I think he had every right to criticise the board, and the vast majority of Manchester United fans do believe that actually the vast majority of the blame is the board. Obviously with the poor recruitment and the poor selection of managers. Obviously they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the course of the summer. So yeah, the board, in my opinion, have been a liability for several years, and I think also some of the blame does stem from Ed Woodward. But we just haven't been good enough this season. We've only scored 9 goals in the Premier League this season in 8 Premier League games. We've only won 2 games so far this season. We've drawn 3 and we've lost 3, so in that aspect we've only registered 9 points from possible 24, and when obviously we know that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. And I think we're sitting 12th in the league at the moment, so I think we're 2 points above relegation. And a lot of United fans believe that we are obviously facing a relegation battle, and we're actually enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades and that. But I think we've only won 5 of our last 23 games since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job permanently back in March. But obviously Solskjaer's been at the football club now overall for around 10 or is it 11 months, so he's been at the football club just under a year. Obviously, we recommended Solskjaer in December of last year, following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho. And obviously, as you all know, Solskjaer came in as interim manager at the first term. Obviously, he was interim manager for 3 months, and obviously, in that 3-month period, everything went really, really well. Solskjaer won his first 8 games, won 14 out of 19 in all competitions in total, and he exceeded expectations. But since he got the job in March earlier on this year, everything of course has just seemed to have all gone wrong. Obviously, there's still, I know a lot of Man United fans are demanding him out of the football club now. You're still getting certain Manchester United fans, and you're still getting certain pundits that still believe that Manchester United should give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more time at the football club, because a lot of people now believe, well, some people, sorry, should I say, believe that us getting rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now would not solve a lot of problems at Manchester United. But yeah, it definitely will be gone by Christmas. But yeah, so some people are saying we still need to give him time to make further more investment in that, give him more time to see who else he can recommend to the football club. But he's still getting certain people out there that have got sympathy for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because actually in this generation this is the worst Manchester United team a lot of people have seen for years. And obviously we had a great team under the Alex Ferguson and Moreira. Ferguson, like I mentioned, developed a lot of young players, and obviously, we had great players under the Ferguson era, but obviously we are aware now this is a different era, with different players, different groups, of course, that Manchester United are building. And, you can quite frankly say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad, because obviously analysing the majority of this squad, it's actually Jose Mourinho. So Solskjaer's inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. Obviously, I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects in that, he did recommend 3 good good players to the squad during the summer. You know, we spent obviously nearly £150 million, so it was good during the summer, you know, that we did address some of the problematic areas, but obviously, you know, we didn't address all of the problematic areas. So some people are still saying that we need to give them a couple more windows. You know, there's still people out there saying that Manchester United, you know, need at least 4 to 5 world class signings, you know, if we are to be back, you know, to being a competitive elite level football club. And obviously, you know, reflecting on the history of this football club and reflecting on, you know, the money that's been invested into the football club in the last 6 or 7 years, you know, we should be in much more of a commanding position, you know, within now. I think, you know, the only reason that, you know, obviously we know that Man United are not going to stick with Solskjaer, but I think, you know, the only reason he's still at Manchester United for this present time is because obviously, you know, he was a club legend. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. You know, he flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. And, you know, one of his most iconic moments as a player was obviously back in 1999, of course, when he did win the club the treble. Obviously, you know, one of the club's greatest achievements in that. And I think he made 366 appearances in all competitions as a player and scored 126 goals. You know, won 6 Premier League titles. So, you know, obviously has got that proven pedigree as a player, but he hasn't obviously, you know, got that proven pedigree as a manager. And that, you know, he only won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Obviously, you know, don't forget, you know, to mention as well, he did get Cardiff relegated. And, you know, if he was to stay at Manchester United, you know, he could, you know, replicate, you know, what he did with Cardiff, to be quite honest, because like I mentioned, you know, we're facing a relegation at the moment. But, you know, the board have basically, you know, just softened their stance on Solskjaer. I think if it had been, you know, any other manager, then I think, you know, he would have been gone by now, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But like I said, Manchester United have not been relegated since 1974, so that's obviously, you know, over 40 odd years ago now. But yeah, we just haven't been good enough this season. And, you know, this season, you know, he's replicating, you know, what I saw last season. What I mean in that aspect, there hasn't even been any improvements. I think it's actually, you know, we're enjoying a worse season this season than what we saw last season. Last season was bad enough because, you know, we finished 6th. Obviously, you know, we failed to win any silverware. You know, we failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did say, you know, with our failure to qualify for the Champions League, you know, that was one of the, you know, main reasons that went against us in the summer transfer window, because, you know, we was in for a lot of players during the summer, but we only managed to get 3 in that. And, you know, obviously, you know, a lot of players during the summer had, you know, element of concerns about coming to the club, you know, because obviously when you're not in Champions League football, it's going to be hard, you know, to attract players to the elite level. But yeah, for me, Solskjaer, you know, is not the right man for Manchester United. And obviously, if Solskjaer is to be sacked by the football club, obviously he's going to be the 4th manager to be sacked since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, we've seen 3 managers sacked. We've seen Moyes go. You know, Moyes obviously, you know, only lasted 10 months at the football club. You know, he's the manager who's had the shortest tenure with Manchester United since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, you know, Van Gaal, I think he lasted just over a year. He didn't have the right philosophy for the football club. And obviously, you know, Mourinho lasted 2.5 years at Manchester United. He's actually had the longest tenure at the club, you know, so far since the Alex Ferguson era. But yeah, I think Solskjaer's definitely on his way out in the football club. Because I think, you know, I don't think anything's going to improve. I do believe, you know, things, of course, are going to get worse. But there's still a lot of United fans, you know, not only demanding Solskjaer out, you know, they're demanding Ed Woodward out. Also, a lot of United fans have been criticising the Glazers. But yeah, hell of a lot of problems at Manchester United that do need to be addressed. And, you know, despite the fact that, you know, a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, you know, I think around 7 players have now left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. You know, obviously we've loaned quite a few players out. We loaned a couple of goalkeepers out. I still believe these more problematic players at the football club, in my opinion. And I think Solskjaer actually, you know, instructed Ed Woodward during the summer, you know, to actually, you know, sanction 9 players off. This is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has recently said. But yeah, and I think he's actually got doubts about the top 6 as Solskjaer, as he was recently saying. And I like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's honesty, because he has got a lot of honesty about him. Obviously, you know, he's aware of what's going on and that. He's obviously, you know, aware of what's going on. But I didn't, as you say, at the end of last season, and I said at the start of this season, that we've got to get top four this season. You know, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure is going to last at Manchester United, so we've got to get into that top four. That's obviously going to be, our expectations and that. And obviously, we know now I've disregarded the top four because we're not going to get in that top four. And I said it's very imperative, that Manchester United do get back into the Champions League, and it's just not good enough. And obviously, Solskjaer wants to bring that fear factor and that winning mentality back to the football club, because we know none of them have been there since the Alex Ferguson era. But in a way, like I mentioned on my recent videos, I do feel sorry for Solskjaer. I think the club have put him in a really, really difficult position. And I said we shouldn't have given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. Don't forget, he is now obviously on a 3-year contract with the club, because when we give him the job permanently, obviously we give him a 3-year contract. Don't forget. But now, since Solskjaer's got the job permanently as well, we've got the 4th worst record in the Premier League. I think we've only registered 17 points from our last 17 games. I think the only teams that have got worse records than us is actually Southampton, Brighton, and Watford, and that's how embarrassing Manchester United are at the moment. So. But yeah, like I mentioned, so I think he's going to leave the football club. If we get hammered by Liverpool, I think that will end his tenure. But if we don't get hammered by Liverpool and we fail to beat Norwich, I think that's when obviously Manchester United are going to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. But you can still quite frankly say, he's in the process of rebuilding. Obviously, we do know that Solskjaer is, if he's still to be here, he's making plans for January. Obviously, Ed Woodward is making plans for January. If obviously Solskjaer is to be here still by January, which I can't see happening, I think he's still keen on, sticking to the same policy of obviously recruiting them young British players. Obviously, like he did do earlier on in the summer. But I've been so annoyed this season. We haven't been good enough. We haven't been scoring enough goals. We look totally exposed in that attacking line. Following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, and with the injury of Anthony Martial, we do, there's not enough inspiration in my opinion in that attacking third in the pitch. And I was disappointed during the summer that obviously we didn't recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Obviously, I think in our last 2 games as well, we've actually failed to register a single shot on target. So we're also struggling to create chances. Let alone score goals. There's no intensity in the team. The team are playing with no passion, no desire, no heart, and this is not good enough. So, like I mentioned, the vast majority of the players also do have to take responsibility. I think the players that have been very, very poor. Obviously, Rashford, he hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. Rashford's been very, very poor this season. I thought he was good throughout pre-season. He did really, really well against Chelsea. But prior to that, I think he's been extremely poor as Rashford. He's enjoyed mainly a difficult time at Man United. This season in comparison to his time. When he first broke into the senior squad. I think now Rashford's 21. 22 years of age. So I've been very disappointed with him. I think Lingard's also been very, very poor. He's been so inconsistent, and reflecting on his status at the football club, Jesse Lingard, he should be putting much more better performances out. You've got Paul Pogba. Obviously, I know he hasn't played certain games this season because obviously he's been out with injury. But again, I think he's enjoyed mainly a difficult time at Manchester United in comparison, to his time, when he was at Juventus. Paul Pogba has also, been very, very poor. And this is basically, it's just not acceptable. I think Andres Pereira's obviously, been quite poor this season. So a lot of players, do really, need to step up to the plate. Obviously, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. Obviously, we have got a lot of experienced players in the team. But I think, everyone's to blame. And, obviously as well, something else that could have gone against us during the summer. Obviously, we didn't get that direct to them of footballing. And I did initially say, that's one of the structural changes that we do need in the football club. You could arguably say, if we'd have got that direct to the footballing during the summer, then maybe, in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, would have been backed more than that. But we didn't, obviously, get that direct to the footballing. So in my opinion, I think the board, do need to show structural changes of the football club. You know, whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. But you know, I'm ashamed to be a Manchester United fan, and I've been ashamed to be a Manchester United fan. You know, in the last 6 to 7 years, because we have obviously, you know, been a toxic club. But like I mentioned, like, you know, regardless of who our manager is, you know, no one is gonna ever, you know, replicate, you know, what Alex Ferguson did. Obviously, you know, we're never going to be we're never going to be the team that was under Alex Ferguson, you know. And Solskjaer can't invoke Ferguson's legacy, you know, to save him at Manchester United. And obviously now we know in this generation that, you know, managers, you know, don't get the time that obviously, you know, they would like, and that obviously back in the old generation, you know, managers did get the time that they required. And obviously, you know, take into account Ferguson, you know, didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. Don't forget, he didn't win out in his first 4 years at the football club. Obviously, I think he was one game away from getting the sack, but he didn't. Then obviously, you know, look what Alex Ferguson, you know, that went and accomplished after that. You know, obviously, you know, we had 20 odd years of success under him. Ferguson was at Manchester United 26 years, obviously the longest serving manager in England. And I think we won in total 38 trophies under the Alex Ferguson era. So we are still the most successful team in England, you know, historically. We are still the most successful team, you know, in England, you know, historically in that. But yeah, you know, we'll never be the team that we was under Alex Ferguson and that. Like I did say to you, you know, maybe there is, you know, certain games this season that, you know, arguably Manchester United should have won. You know, maybe we should have won at Crystal Palace at home. That's one of the games we shouldn't have lost. You know, in that particular game, you know, we had over 20 odd shots on goal. We had I think the majority of the possession, but we didn't win the game. You know, Southampton away, we should have arguably won that. You know, maybe we should have won at Wolves away. But I think prior to them games, you know, we've been very, very poor this season. We've had 3 defeats this season in 8 league games. We lost away to Newcastle recently. You know, we lost, you know, away to West Ham recently. And obviously we lost to Crystal Palace earlier on in the season. So, you know, it's just very, very disappointing, you know, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, I said, obviously, a lot of money's been invested into the football club in the last, 6 to 7 years or something like that now, since the Alex Ferguson era. I think at an estimated guess, we've spent maybe 700 odd, 800 odd million pounds on players in the last 6 to 7 years. So that's just under £1 billion that Manchester United has spent, and that's obviously, you know, not taking into account, you know, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. If you obviously want to, you know, take into the equation what was spent under Ferguson, obviously, you know, it's way over £1 billion that's been spent at the football club. Hell of a lot of money's been spent, and you know, we've also, you know, got players on big contracts. Don't forget, we have got players on big contracts. You know, obviously you've got Rashford on 300 odd grand a week nearly. You've got De Gea, who's obviously, you know, the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. He's on 375 grand a week. I don't think he's performed too good this season. Obviously made costly mistakes towards the back end of last season, but that was mainly to do with a contractual situation. David De Gea, you know, overall is the best goalkeeper in the world. At this present time, he isn't the best goalkeeper in the world, so there is a difference about it. I think at the moment, Alisson's better than him. I think even Manuel Neuer at this current time is better than him. But obviously analysing De Gea's career, I think he's been fantastic. I think, you know, obviously he's been here, 8 years, he's now into his 9th season at Manchester United, so he's nearly been to the club a decade, and I say David De Gea's had, 7.5 good years at the football club, but hasn't been, you know, performed to standards as we all expected, you know, this season and that so far. But, you know, for me, he's still very, very essential. I mean, De Gea, you've got Harry Maguire on 200 grand a week. To be fair, you know, I think Harry Maguire settled in really, really well. I know that the club overpaid for Harry Maguire. Obviously, you know, we paid, £80 million for him. Obviously, he's the most expensive defender in the world. Obviously, he's the second most expensive. He's our second most expensive signing at the football club. But I did say in these markets, this day and age, you've got to overpay for certain players. But I think he's addressed our defensive deficiencies fantastically well as Harry Maguire in that. But yeah, I think he's done well. To be fair to him, you've got Pogba on just under £300 300 grand a week at the football club. Obviously, you've got recent reports indicating out saying that, you know, Man United have become infuriated with Paul Pogba's, you know, contract, because reportedly he's demanding a substantial 600 grand a week from the football club, and I can't see Manchester United willing to give him 600 grand a week, and, you know, 600 grand a week equates to around £30 million a year. We are a massive club with massive revenue, so, and, you know, and we're known for, you know, overpaying for players and that, and so probably, you know, we have got, you know, the financial power to meet, obviously, Paul Pogba's wage demands, but I just don't think Manchester United will be willing to do that, because he's one of the highest paid players at the club now, as it stands on his current deal. You know, Martial, like I said, is on 200 grand a week at the football club, so I'm happy that, you know, we did sort the contract renewals out. I'm unhappy, you know, with, you know, I'm unhappy with some of it, because, you know, I think there's actually, you know, some players that we shouldn't have give, you know, new contracts to. You know, we shouldn't have give Jones a new long-term contract last season. You know, we shouldn't have give Young a new one-year extension last season. But the football club have made quite a lot of mistakes, to be quite honest with you. You know, I think one mistake Manchester United did do during the summer was getting rid of Ander Herrera. That was one mistake we did, because you could arguably say Ander Herrera was one of our best players, you know, since the Alex Ferguson and Herrera and that. And, you know, especially to let him go on a free transfer, you know, infuriated me more, because, you know, we're known for overpaying for players, and when it comes to letting them go, we let them go for next to nothing. And we've done it in recent years. There's been prime examples of it this summer, like I've just mentioned with Herrera. We also even did it with Matteo Darmian. If we'd have got rid of Darmian last year, maybe 2 years ago, we could have recouped the money, at least, you know, that we did pay for him from Torino back in 2015. And I wasn't surprised Darmian left the football club. I'm actually happy we got rid of him, but I'm just unhappy, you know, the money we got for him. We let him go for just over £1 million, when we paid £12.7 million for him under the Louis van Gaal Herrera. But yeah, Herrera, you know, made a massive difference in that midfield, and this is a good statistic to tell you, because last season when Ander Herrera was playing, I think we won all our games, or if it wasn't all of them, it was the vast majority of the games that we did win. But we did let his contract run down, and we let him go on a free transfer. But we've definitely in January got to recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. I think, yeah, like I mentioned, a mistake as well was from Man United was giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. That was another mistake from the club. I think also one mistake Ferguson made as well was obviously recommended David Moyes to the job after he retired after 26 years. I think you could arguably say Ferguson, you know, would have recommended, you know, Jose Mourinho win after he retired. I think, to be fair, in my opinion, we recommended Jose Mourinho win too late. But if we'd have got him after Ferguson, then it could have been a different scenario with Manchester United, to be quite honest with you. That was one mistake, you know, Ferguson did make, though. So yeah, the club have made quite a lot of mistakes. You know, they have made quite a lot of mistakes. Like I mentioned, it's worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, you know, than what it was obviously under the Mourinho era and that, because I think Solskjaer's record after 29, 30 games is it now, you know, is proven to be worse, you know, than Jose Mourinho's. But I've obviously already given you the reasons, you know, why it didn't work out under the Jose Mourinho era, because obviously, you know, Mourinho had bad disputes with the board, you know, he had bad disputes with the top players. Obviously, you know, the board weren't back in the signings that I wanted to recommend into the football club last summer. Mourinho spent a substantial amount at the club. You know, he spent just under £400 million on players, did Jose Mourinho. He did win the Europa League and League Cup, though, in his first season at Manchester United. But like I mentioned, I think, you know, we did recommend him to the football club, you know, too late. Could you arguably say that, you know, maybe was it a mistake of Man United getting rid of Romelu Lukaku? Well, I said it was no surprise that Lukaku, you know, left the football club, because obviously, you know, Lukaku had initially lost his place in the team. Obviously, Lukaku served 2 years at Manchester United, and Lukaku was a goal scorer. You know, Lukaku did really, really well in his first season. I think he scored, 27 goals in all competitions. Obviously, you know, he scored 42 goals in 96 games for the club in all competitions in the 2 years he was there, Lukaku. But obviously, Solskjaer's preference, obviously, you know, was Rashford over Romelu Lukaku. So Lukaku initially lost his place in the team. So could that have been a mistake for Man United getting rid of him? I'm happy, you know, with the money we did generate from his departure, because we got around £70 million. So really, we initially recouped the money that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago, you know, which was very, very good. Very, very delighted about that. And I think he's performed very, very well now for Inter Milan. But like I mentioned, the vast majority of our players, who have left this summer have obviously gone to Italy. Like Sanchez, he had to go anywhere because, Sanchez did endure a difficult 18 months with Manchester United. Despite the fact that he's on loan with Milan, we're still paying the vast majority of his wages. I still believe, we're paying Sanchez around 300 grand a week. But yeah, he obviously had to go. Smalling, obviously, like I said, he served 9 years at Manchester United. He's obviously on loan with Roma. Despite the fact that Smalling's gone, though, we've still got 6 centre backs in the team. Despite the fact that he's obviously gone. Don't forget, before Smalling went out on loan, we gave him a new long-term contract last season. If you do remember rightly. Yeah. And, obviously, Valencia left at the end of last season. Obviously, Valencia was a long-serving player at the club. He served around 10 years at Man United. Obviously, Fellaini, he, left after 6 years. He obviously, went to China, back in January. So, yeah, a lot of players have now left. But Solskjaer's now saying, Manchester United, should have got rid of 9 players. This is what, Solskjaer is saying. But, like I did say, I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that aspect as well. He has got a lot of faith in his young upcoming players, and obviously, we have got a lot of young upcoming players in the squad. And obviously, like I said, I don't think all of them, will become a success. I think maybe we should orchestrate on maybe loaning, some of the young upcoming players out because maybe they're not good enough. All right.
Charlie.
What?
Still no text.
Maybe because they're not good enough, to represent Manchester United. But I think I can assure that two young upcoming players that I think will become a success, and that is Mason Greenwood and Alex Tuanzebe. Because I think, the games they've played in this season, the duo, I think they've both done really, really well. Obviously, Tuanzebe played at left back against Arsenal. I think he's played a couple of other games, but hasn't played the vast majority of the games. Greenwood obviously has not yet, started the game from the start in the Premier League. Did start in the game against obviously FC Astana and Rochdale and that, and scored in them 2 particular games, and obviously came up with a moment of quality in that. And like I mentioned, Mason Greenwood I think can be become a success at Manchester United. I think by the time he's 23, 24, I think he will be a world class centre forward, Will Greenwood, and he's just recently only turned 18 years of age, and Greenwood did very, very well for the reserves last season. He scored 29 goals, was it 30 goals in 29 games, something like that. Only made his full debut for the football club in the 2-0 home defeat to Cardiff last season, Mason Greenwood. But yeah, and in the aspects of him, being a number 9, playing as a number 9, he's a much better solution than Marcus Rashford at this moment in time. But yeah, I'd be very, very impressed with Greenwood. So far this season, he has actually made 6 substitute appearances in the Premier League, but Solskjaer's obviously assured that he'll get more minutes under his belt. Like I mentioned, with Chong, he's totally comparison to Mason Greenwood as Chong. And to be fair, I'll admit, I have got element of concerns about Chong. If I'm going to be quite honest with you, maybe we should, orchestrate on loaning him out. Don't forget, Chong did receive loan offers this summer, from PSV and his former club Feyenoord. But, actually turned these loan offers down. Obviously wants to commit his future at Man United. Well, wants to stay at the football club, at least for this season. But yeah, like I said, we've got Jimmy Garner. I don't think, he's yet played this season, Jimmy Garner. I think he played a couple of times throughout pre-season. We've got Angel Gomez. Obviously, he's another one of our midfield options. McTominay, I think McTominay's done really, really well so far this season. I've been impressed with McTominay. I thought, him and Fred, were very, very poor against Newcastle. They both look very, very exposed in that midfield, to be quite honest with you. And like I said, them Scott McTominay and Fred, I think both of them, I don't know if they are the long-term solutions for Manchester United and that. With McTominay, I think he's done mainly well this season. I don't know if he can obviously, keep the consistency up. And my overarching view on Fred is that he needs to be given more time at the football club, because don't forget, Fred has only been here since last summer. We paid just under 50 million for him. Obviously, to be fair, Fred never really got the opportunity under Jose Mourinho, but I think I can pinpoint some games out this season that Fred has actually done quite well for the football club. So I'll credit him for that. Obviously, we've got Diego Dalot. I think he's made a couple of appearances, for the club so far this season. I think we need to, obviously, need to give Diego Dalot Dalot also a bit more time. Don't forget he only joined the club last summer from Porto. Obviously, he's another one of our backup options in that fullback area. So yeah, there's a lot of young upcoming players in the squad. Like I mentioned, big game against Liverpool after the international break. Of course, obviously it is going to be a massive game. It's on the 20th of October. Is Liverpool, and we know that obviously at the moment Liverpool are obviously strides ahead of us. They're at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ahead of Manchester United. But disregarding that, I still think it's always a big fixture. Manchester United and Liverpool. Obviously, the two most successful clubs. In England, obviously, historically. Obviously, I think Liverpool overall have won around 43 trophies. Obviously, Manchester United have won 42 and that. Obviously, we are the most successful team in England because we've won the most titles. Obviously, we've won 20 titles on now. Liverpool, of course, have won 18 Old First Divisions. Obviously, Liverpool have obviously never won the Premier League since it got named in 92, 93. And they haven't won it all in all, for 3 decades. But I do believe this season is probably going to be Liverpool's year. So far this season they've won 8 out of 8 of Liverpool, so they've registered 24 points. They're scoring goals for fun. And Liverpool, were unlucky, not to win it last season. But I don't think we're going to win this game against Liverpool. I think a lot of Manchester United fans are going to go into the game with a lot of negativity. Obviously, with reflecting on how bad we have been this season and that. And obviously, Liverpool have only won at Old Trafford twice, in the last decade. The last time they actually did beat us at home in the league was actually back in 2014, which was obviously around nearly 6 years ago now. That was back under the David Moyes era. And I think the other occasion they beat us was back in 2009, which was obviously over 10 years ago now. So the record at Old Trafford is not very, very good. Obviously, it was 0-0 at Old Trafford last season. Liverpool did beat us 3-1 at Anfield last season. That's obviously, that particular game ended Jose Mourinho's tenure at Manchester United, but it's still always a big game. But, I hate Liverpool, but, I've got to use a lot of honesty on my videos and that, they've got a good manager through Jurgen Klopp, even though he hasn't won much in terms of silver. Obviously, he won his first, honour with Liverpool last season by winning the Champions League. Obviously, Liverpool have won the Champions League 6 times. Obviously, I think before he was at Liverpool, he won a couple of titles with Borussia Dortmund, did Jurgen Klopp, but he has done a really, really good job. And Liverpool invested well, in the last couple of windows. They didn't obviously get anyone. I don't think they got anyone this summer, but in the previous other windows, they did good investment, obviously, and they've actually been sensible with their recruitment. Like I mentioned, like this is what I said Manchester United should do. We should try to be sensible with our recruitment, rather than obviously, overpay for players. Liverpool did pay 75 million for Van Dijk, but obviously, due to reflect on his performances at Liverpool, his valuation will persistently grow, and that will Virgil van Dijk's, for me, is the best centre-half in the world. They've got 2 fantastic full-backs through Andrew Robinson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. The distribution's good. They show good attacking intent. They're really, really good players, and they're really, really good on the right and the left. They can dart forward, make them overlapping runs. They've got Jorginho Wijnaldum was also a very, very good player for them. They've got a great attacking trio in Salah, Firmino, and Mane. They complement each other well. They score goals between them. They provide as well. And they show great attacking intent. The Liverpool, play with a high line, show a lot of intensity. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult game, to be quite honest with you. The good news is for us, Man United, that is, we have the vast majority of our players that are injured now are expected to, regain full fitness for the game against Liverpool. So I do presume that Anthony Martial will be back, Luke Shaw will be back, because obviously Martial and Luke Shaw, due to their injuries, they've missed the last 6 games in all competitions for Man United. Also, Wan-Bissaka, he's been out with illness, so he's missed the last 2 league games. Wan-Bissaka, of course, has been out with tonsillitis, but yeah, he should be back for the game against Liverpool. Should Wan-Bissaka, which is obviously very, very good news. And a lot of people believe, Wan-Bissaka has been one of our most consistent signings so far. I think Pogba, like I mentioned, will be back. But yeah, the vast majority, the players that are injured now, of course, will be back. Obviously, we know Eric Bailly won't be, because obviously he's out with an injury. I think he's out until the new year, is Eric Bailly, or is it till the end of December. Fosu Mensah, of course, is still out of injury. But yeah, that's the good thing. So we need to put a performance in against Liverpool, and I think we need to win this game to obviously try and save Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job at Manchester United. But yeah, and I think after Liverpool, it's Norwich, isn't it? After Liverpool, I think we'll have another Europa League game coming up soon as well. Chelsea obviously coming up at the end of the month. Don't forget in the Carabao Cup, that's going to be obviously another difficult game. But yeah, like I did mention to you, I mentioned to you, didn't I, earlier on, and I've been talking about it quite recently, who should replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. Now, obviously, we have got a list of managers on our agenda. Reports have been circulating out of the media, in the last couple of weeks at least, saying that, we've made Massimiliano Allegri as our primary candidate to replace Solskjaer. So now reports are saying that, he's the number one priority to replace Solskjaer at Manchester United. Now, the Daily Mail have recently reported, whether you want to have any trust with, do you have any trust in the Daily Mail or not, I do not know. But they've reportedly said that Massimiliano Allegri will only take over at Manchester United if the club can assure him the job within the next few weeks and that. Obviously, we probably will have to pay something to recommend him in, I should presume. Actually, he is managerless at the moment. He's Massimiliano Allegri. He did step down as Juventus manager earlier on in the summer. Don't forget, he did step down as Juventus manager. Obviously, the vast majority of his survey one was with Juventus, and he served around 5 years with Juventus. But obviously he's been managing now for around just over 16 years, because he began his managerial career in 2003. Obviously he spent the entirety of his managerial career so far in Italy. Obviously spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. Do you think he would be the right candidate for Manchester United? Obviously, Mauricio Pochettino, we actually went in for Mauricio Pochettino, obviously, before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in. Pochettino was the club's number one priority target after the sacking of Jose Mourinho and that. If it was to reignite our interest in Pochettino, I do believe the club would have to pay £32 million in compensation to get him in and that. This is obviously what we'd have to pay. I don't think he's got a release clause in his contract, Pochettino. I don't think he has anywhere. I think he signed a 5-year contract with Tottenham last summer, and I think he's on around now £8.5 million a year. But yeah, maybe a lot of Man United fans believe, that Pochettino could elevate the club forward. A lot of people believe he would suit the Strappens and that of the football club, reflecting on his experience, because obviously he's well Premier League proven, is Mauricio Pochettino. But obviously, my element of concern I've got about Pochettino is obviously, he hasn't won out in terms of silverware and that, but he's been at Tottenham 5 years. He's now into his 6th season with Tottenham. He's good at developing a lot of young players. Had a great short tenure when he was at Southampton before he went to Tottenham, and Pochettino's been managing now for just more than a decade, because he began his managerial career in 2009. Like I mentioned, there's been recent reports saying that a lot of Man United fans, would be excited about, Arsene Wenger coming into the job and that. A lot of Man United fans believe, he would be the right candidate. I think Wenger's recently turned down some offers from the Premier League. I think he also was interested in taking over Lyon, but reportedly Laurent Blanc, his favourite, to take over at Lyon. And Wenger obviously, was a long-serving manager for Arsenal. He served 22 years with Arsenal. Do you think he would be the right man? I think Arsene Wenger now is in his 70s, if I'm right. Who else? And Brendan Rodgers. I think he's also being mentioned. So who would you like to come in? To replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now at the football club? I don't think any former Man United players will get it now if Solskjaer's sacked. Like I mentioned, I don't think Giggs will get it. Obviously, actually, at one point, Ryan Giggs was the interim manager. He only managed 4 games at the football club. I think it was actually, after, David Moyes had been sacked. Giggs obviously took over as interim manager at that point. Giggs obviously, took over as interim manager at that point and that. But yeah, who would you replace, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with? And you heard out. So yes guys, anyway, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.